Hi everybody, welcome back to Living Traditions Homestead. Well, I am out here by the sprout house today. I am going to be starting some more seeds. I have more difficult to start seeds in here. Kevin made me this fun pouch so I could carry my seeds around and not lose them. And today I am starting some of the herb seeds that are a little bit more difficult to start and take longer to germinate and longer to grow big enough to either sell at the farmer's market or plant in the ground come spring. My hope today is to help you all learn some tips and tricks of starting herb seeds that can notoriously be difficult to start. Let's head inside and get going. As we come in, I'm just going to set down my seeds and give you a little bit of a tour. This is our sprout house, which is our building that we start all of our seeds for ourselves and to sell at the farmer's market. We have a nice workbench here. That's where we work, do all the seeds. We have a heater here that keeps us warm and keeps it warm inside of here. Little storage room, storage closet. A little storage shelf here with lights. This is where we store the bigger plants in the 3-inch pots that are going to the farmer's market. A little table here for a coffee pot, which we need to bring out yet. More shelving for the bigger plants. And then these shelves over here have lights and heat mats. This is where we germinate all of our seeds. In a recent video, Kevin and I started some of our tomato plants, pepper plants, and some of the spring plants that we'll be growing. Cauliflower, 2 types of cabbage, and collard greens. So that is what is on these heat mats right here. These are really just, the tomatoes and the peppers are really just the plants that we'll be growing in the greenhouse. We've got lots more to start for our garden area and for the farmer's market. But today I'm going to be concentrating on starting herb seeds. And I do have a lot of packets of seeds in this little pouch here that Kevin made for me. I am going to be starting a lot of these today because a lot of them take a long time to get large enough to either plant outside or sell at the farmer's market. Right now I have about 11 weeks until we start going to the farmer's market, and probably about 13 weeks until I will start planting these out either in pots or in the ground. So because some of these take about 10 weeks to grow to be ready enough to be sold and planted, I need to get a move on. Now there are lots of things that can make starting herb seeds seem really complicated. How far ahead of time to plant the seeds is just one of them. A lot of these seeds are super tiny, so it can be confusing. Like, do you plant them deep in the ground? Do you plant them right on the top of the ground? Do you put just a tiny bit of soil on top of them, or do you just water them in? Do you have to freeze the seeds before you start them in little pots to kind of mimic what happens over the winter? And what about those seeds that have a really hard shell, that have a hard time germinating, breaking through that shell? There are a lot of things about starting herb seeds that can be very intimidating. So today I'm hoping to demystify starting herb seeds. Let's start off by me just sharing the herbs that I'm going to be starting. Some of these are for my personal use, and some of them are just popular herbs that I sell at the farmer's market. Actually, herbs are one of the most popular things for us to sell at the farmer's market because I think we might be the only ones that sell herbs at the farmer's market. So they go really quickly, so I want to make sure that I bring a nice variety of herbs that are popular, that we've sold out really quickly in the past, and that are just kind of a well-rounded variety of herbs. Some of them are for cooking, some of them are medicinal, and I'm really not going to get into the medicinal properties of any of these. If you're interested, you can look it up in books and online. Also, the majority of the seeds that I am planting this year are either from M.I. Gardener or they're from just the store. This year we were at Menards in Springfield and I saw they had a really great selection of seeds from Burpee, and they had a good selection of herbs, the things that I want to grow, so I just picked up a bunch of seed packets there also. So I'm going to be growing German chamomile, Big Italy parsley, Echinacea purpurea, which is purple coneflower, marshmallow, holy basil, cinnamon basil, dwarf Greek basil, Genovese basil, St. John's wort, common English thyme, English lavender, broadleaf sage, rosemary, and stevia. I actually got these stevia seeds from a friend. I also plan to be bringing dill to the farmer's market, but dill grows so fast that I need to wait probably another month before I plant dill. Generally, each seed packet has planting instructions on the back, either when to start the seeds inside and how to do that, or when to start them outside and how to do that. But it can be very overwhelming when you're starting this many different types of seeds, like keeping all of that information straight. So I just quickly want to show you that I have gathered all of that information for lots of types of seeds, lots of flowers, and lots of vegetables, all into one group, into some seed starting cheat sheets. Now, like I said, I have a cheat sheet for vegetables, a cheat sheet for herbs, and a cheat sheet for flowers. I'm going to be referencing and kind of showing you about the herb cheat sheet that I'm going to be using today. Now, these 3 cheat sheets are sold together on our website for $2 for all 3 of them. Our website is livingtraditionsHomestead.com. These are in our shop, and if you're interested in getting these to have reference for yourself in a binder like this, go ahead and check out our website. Like I said, $2 for all of this information. Now with this herb starting cheat sheet, you can see here that it lists the herb name, how many weeks before planting that you should start the seeds, how deep to start the seeds, about how many days it should take for the seeds to germinate, if you need a heat mat, and any other kind of special notes. This is where the special information about what your seeds like in order to germinate, that's where this will be explained. One factor that I pay the most attention to initially is whether or not the seeds need light to germinate or they prefer no light to germinate. So when I'm deciding what seeds I'm going to start together in a tray, I want the seeds that are the same. So I want seeds in a tray that they all need the lights to be on in order for them to germinate, and seeds in a different tray that don't need any light or don't want any light. So that is really my first consideration when determining which seeds I'm going to start with which seeds. The reason that is important to me is because I start seeds in a seed tray that holds 72 seeds. So hopefully if all of them germinate, there will be 72 different little plants in here. I'm not starting 72 plants of chamomile and 72 plants of rosemary. I'm actually going to be just starting, maybe 18 or 24 of them each in here. So it makes sense for me to have 3 different types of plants in this tray that require light in order to germinate. That's really the only thing that I'm going to consider when I'm deciding what I'm going to grow with what. Now with that said, I'm going to go through my pile of seed packets here, and I'm going to just separate them into different piles of which ones need light to germinate and which ones don't need light to germinate. Now, another really great aspect of these herb cheat sheets, or really all the cheat sheets, is I don't remember from year to year what they specifically need. I mean, I've done a lot of growing in my life and I have done a lot of seed starting, but there's no way that I can remember all the specifics and all the details of what each one of these plants requires. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do real quick. Just separate these into 2 piles. So those 2 groups were separated. So these are the seeds that don't need light in order to germinate, and these do need light to germinate. Now, before we move on, I do want to talk about two things that are not included within this seed starting cheat sheet. And really it's because I don't feel that information is really necessary. Some of you may completely disagree with what I'm about to say, and that's okay. Everybody has their own opinion. The two things that are not included on these sheets is whether the seeds need to be stratified or scarified. Stratified or stratification means freezing the seeds for a certain amount of time to basically trick the seeds into thinking that they went through winter. Then when they're thawed out and planted, they are more likely, or it's required, in order for them to germinate. Now, I disagree with that, at least on the seeds that you can buy from the store, okay? For example, some of the seeds that people or organizations say should be stratified or frozen before germinating or before planting are anise hyssop, bee balm, catnip, chamomile, echinacea, lavender, lemon balm, marshmallow, mullein, stinging nettle, rosemary, sage, St. John's wort, valerian. A lot of those are the seeds I'm going to be starting, and a lot of those are seeds that I have been starting almost every year for a decade, honestly. And I can tell you that I have never had to freeze seeds in order for them to germinate. Maybe that's because the companies are doing that for me. I don't know. But I can tell you that there are some seeds that the internet people say need to be stratified that there's no way that I believe that. For instance, anise hyssop is something that we grow here. We grow it for tea because it tastes lovely. When those plants flower and go to seed and the wind takes them places, they germinate that same year with no trouble at all. In fact, they have actually germinated everywhere. The same goes for chamomile. I can have chamomile come up same year from seeds without being frozen in between. There are many other seeds that I talked about that are the same for sure. So because not only from personal experience buying seeds in packets and not freezing them, personal experience to me says it's not necessary. You may get better germination if you freeze them ahead of time, but I don't want to confuse people saying this has to be frozen in order for it to germinate when I've not had that experience myself. So that's why I have not included requirements for seeds that need to be stratified before germinating into my list. The other is scarification. Now, scarification is kind of scratching off part of the seed coating in order to help seeds germinate. And normally that is for seeds that are kind of on the large side and have like a really thick coating. I have not needed to scarify seeds in order for them to germinate. The main seed that you all would probably be familiar with that they say on the internet that needs to be scarified are nasturtium seeds. I plant nasturtium seeds almost every single year. They germinate. They don't have a problem doing that. So for that reason, I also do not include scarification requirements within our seed starting cheat sheets. A couple things that I do include in the seed starting cheat sheets that we probably won't go over with any of these seeds today are seeds that do best if they're direct sown, which means they do better if you just sow the seeds in the ground right away rather than transplanting them after you start them in the greenhouse or at your house or anything. And those plants that actually do best from cuttings. And one example is anything in the mint family, peppermint. Peppermint, spearmint, those mints, they actually are really difficult to start from seed, but they're super easy to start from a cutting. So once they've come back to life in the spring, you can cut off a sprig, stick it in some water, the roots will grow, and you can just plant that little baby plant with the roots in it right in the ground. That's a much easier way to start mint plants. So that kind of information is also in my seed starting cheat sheet. Okay, let's get started planting some seeds. The first thing we need to do is to fill this tray with seed starting mix. This tub we have here is filled with our seed starting mix, and I'm just going to put handfuls in there. I'll just move it around to fill all of these cells. The next step is I'm going to label this tray with a big old line of masking tape so that I can section off each of the rows. I plant this way, and I can mark which rows have what herbs. This is just the easiest and fastest, probably cheapest way that we have found to mark these seed trays. I'm going to be planting in 24 of these cells per type of herb. So I'm going to be marking off these sections and writing what is planted in each of these sections. So I'm going to start off with St. John's wort, then I'll plant thyme, then I'll plant rosemary. Now over here, according to my seed starting cheat sheet, it says St. John's wort, you should sow the seeds on the surface, and it does need light. We knew that already. Don't cover the seeds. So this will be pretty easy. Now these seeds here, St. John's wort from Emma Gardner, they are really little seeds. There are 500 seeds in here, and they are just teeny tiny things. You can see. So I'm just going to take a tiny pinch, and I'm just going to drop a few seeds on the top of each one of these. Now that is all that is required to be done for those St. John's wort seeds. The thyme seeds say surface sow, needs light, don't cover. Same as the St. John's wort, that'll be easy. This package has 300 seeds in it, and they are actually packaged in another little baggie in there. You can see how small they are. Because they're so tiny and there are a lot of them, I'm just going to put a couple seeds in each cell. Now for the rosemary, surface sow, needs light, we need that, pat gently. So that means we're just going to pat the seed down onto the soil so that it makes really good contact with the soil so it never dries out. These seeds are small, but not quite as small as the others. So I will be able to plant about 1 seed per cell. Now that we have them all in there, we're just going to go back with our finger and just pat those seeds down into the soil so they make really good contact with the soil. Since these 3 types of seeds are done, they're planted, I'm going to go ahead and give them a good watering. And I'm going to put on a dome. Domes are really important for starting seeds because they trap in the humidity, the moisture inside of here. And it's really important for herbs, especially those that are surface sown. It's going to be so important for them to stay moist and stay wet so that the seeds, their shells soften and the insides can germinate and pop out and start growing. So if you don't have domes, it's fine. You can use some plastic wrap over the top to maintain that humidity, but as soon as those seeds germinate, you'll want to take the plastic wrap off. If you have a dome like this, it's still okay if they germinate because they won't pop up and touch this plastic right away. It'll take them a while. They have to grow for them to touch this plastic. So now I need to decide whether or not I should put these on a heat mat. It turns out that all three of these herbs, St. John's wort, thyme, and rosemary, they do not need heat in order to germinate. We are keeping this sprout house at about 65 to 72 degrees. That will be warm enough for these to germinate. So I'm just gonna put these onto one of our shelves. We'll turn the light on and we'll move on. The next three we will plant are chamomile, sage, and stevia. Chamomile likes to be sown on the surface, needs light, don't cover. Sage needs to be surface sown, needs light, pat down gently. And stevia needs light, cover lightly. These three will be put on a heat mat. The next three are echinacea, lavender, and the dwarf Greek basil, which we will just treat like regular basil. The echinacea needs to be a 1/4 inch under the dirt, needs light, cover lightly. It does need a heat mat. The lavender, surface sow, needs light, pat gently. It needs a heat mat. The basil, 1/8 of an inch under the soil. Rake the soil, and it does need a heat mat. I'm getting there. I still have 3 different basils to plant, and parsley and marshmallow. All of those I'm going to plant the exact same way, meaning I'm going to come over here to my herb seed starting cheat sheet. Basically just follow the instructions until they're all planted. Well, the herb seeds that I have to start, I got them all started today. So that is awesome. Like I said, there are a few things that I'll need to start later that grow really quickly. It doesn't make sense for me to start those now because they'd be much too big by the time farmer's market comes. Now, if you are looking for like seed trays and domes and these kinds of things, we get those from growersolution.com. They also sell these heat mats. If you are looking for lights like ours, they're in our Amazon shop, but really just plain old shop lights will do for starting seeds, as long as you hang them really low close to the trays, and as the plants grow, you'll want to move them up a little bit at a time. These purple lights, you can just keep at this height and they'll be good to go until you move them outside. Remember that our cheat sheets are available on our website, livingtraditionsHomestead.com. And Kevin came in and let me know that he can make more of these and put these on our website also, these little seed bags. So if you're interested in one of these, you can check it out on our website as well. You guys, I hope you enjoyed some time with me as I taught a little bit more advanced seed starting techniques with these herb seeds. Really, once you get the hang of it, it's all really easy. You just need some kind of reference as to what the seeds really want and what they need. You guys, if you're enjoying videos like this, I would sure love it if you would hit that subscribe button. Also, remember, the best way you can help us here on the homestead is just to share our videos on your social media. Until next time, thank you so much for stopping by our homestead. Take care and God bless.